The live started. You can able to proceed now.
Okay. Kaleshwari ma'am, you can proceed, ma'am.
Yes, sir. It's my honor and privilege to introduce our speaker for today, Susan Gagan, a project manager, and she also pursued PhD and from Israel. And to our a few highlights, she is a project manager and process engineer with expertise in pharmaceutics and multidisciplinary industries. She focuses on aligning business solutions with organization goals. And she also skilled in planning, managing, and optimizing her projects to meet her intensive schedules and achieve objectives through systematic vision and logical thinking. And currently, researching at V Lab and Nitsen Lab for Sustainable Development, focusing on water and energy solution. And she is also a water ambassador. And now she will deliver a talk on people's water data. Now I hand over the session to Susan Gagan. Ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm sharing my screen. Can you share me my presentation?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm currently in IITM Madras, Chennai in India. And I would like to share with you our vision on people's water data. We encourage students and participants actively engage in water quality analysis with the importance of making this data openly and transparency with everyone. Understanding the significance of data for scientific research. By joining us to People's Water Data, students will contribute to a big collection of data with geographical diversity, creating useful information for all. Ultimately, the outcomes is a valuable dataset generated by the people for the people. Our tagline is enabling quality, equity, and innovation. So let's go start and understand how does it really look like. This infographic highlights the critical progress and challenges in the provision of safe drinking water on a global case. A key issue addressed by the World Health Organization and UNICEF. As of 2020, 1 in 4 people lacked access to safely managed drinking water. And at this rate, 1.6 billion will still be without it by 2030. In this project, many institutions are joining us. We're already in the second session and more are joining us. You can see here few of them who already participated in People's Water Data. So what is the methodology behind this? Explore, experience, measure, and evaluate. We tailored a survey for urban and rural environment aimed to assess household behaviors and perceptions regarding drinking water quality. The survey gathered essential information on demographic and physical parameters. Typically, the household member responsible for managing drinking water, including gender, age, family role, and education level. This survey involves collecting water samples from 2 key points: the household drinking water and the source water like tap water, boil water, rivers, lakes, and etc. Random households within the community were selected for visits. During this visit, which lasted about 20 minutes on average, the research team conducts surveys with the household member responsible. Water samples were collected for extending chemical analysis in the lab center. All data is saved in one place, ready for analysis. Our learning is interactive learning, a brief course on water quality in an NPTEL page. The Breed Learning Interactive provides challenges and enigmas to encourage participants and foster innovation thinking and creating problem solving. Additionally, we have a booklet that was structured for this use for all, and with all the SOPs and guidelines. We encourage community and social involvements. And for this purpose, a newspaper has been created by the people for the people, including a profile on social media, newspapers, Twitter, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, and all. So how it is really working? We have a survey which we created a custom-made, operating from every phone, both online and offline. Even if you are working with that offline, the data will be there after you will have some connection. So you can safely keep and collect in any area in the field, if it's rural or urban. The survey is collecting both behavioral data and physical parameters, which have a structure that we can gather all the information all together and have a full picture of the situation. The platform is made for the people, and it's all about sharing reliable and accurate water data that's secure. It's a space where anyone can see this data online and get creative with it. It's meant to be used by people everywhere. The main goal is to make sure everyone has fair access to this important info, which empowering communities worldwide with knowledge and tools to address water quality issues. We already work in 7 different places. It starts from India to South Africa, Israel, Uganda, Ethiopia, and Australia and US. So what is the whole about? We created a tailor-made course with an expert professors worldwide, together with a theory of 34 lectures. We encourage students to understand and learn more about their water. After that, they are joining to the practical season and gathering conductive service in the field. We already have more than 520 participate overall, and in this current stage, we are running with more of 300 students all over the world. We have a platform which named People's Water Data, and we are sharing this information in the platform with hot maps and the parameters, key aspects, which is available for all. By selecting some location, people can see the data, which means you can get in and see the data of your households. Like if the student has conducted a survey in your household, after 24 hours, you can get into the platform, use some ID, and see all the data and information and tips about your drinking water. If you are wish, we can come to your house again and help you to install and do all the needed for having a clean and safe water, including implement technologies and implementation of technologies and assess them.
Actually, ma'am.
1 minute. It shows how it works. Here you can see how it really works. You can have all the data just by pressing a button and see what is there. Students here are telling about these projects and what they have gained from these projects. These students have an alumni group and forum, and they are joining and participate with us for the next seasons. Our future plan for people's water data is to develop and launch the global mapping platform using initial data monitoring in the field and establish key parameters to ensure data reliability and accuracy. Community engagement and educational outreach to expand data collection efforts through active community engagement worldwide, and enhance the platform with educational program to increase participation. Promote sustainable water management practice, establish training programs for local leadership. We have working all through data verification and implement technologies. Implement advanced data verification techniques to provide new technologies tailored to specific regional needs in the field. We aim to address diverse challenges, integrate emerging technologies and also innovation challenges to foster a culture of continuous improvement. Our impact will be on sustainability focus, strategic scaling and expansion to 1 million data points by 2 years. Our vision is to get local communities, encourage water companies, and all involved to work together to make water safer. This helps scientific research and allow community manage their water better. The idea is to make it easy and cheap to achieve water quality and to use this information to come up with new innovations and teach people about water safety. As more people join in, the project will collect a wide range of data, creating a big, useful resource made by the people. These are the experts who are enrolling in this program. We encourage all of you to join us. The program is have a small fee for taking part, and all others is on the project. That's it. I have done.
Thank you, Susan, ma'am. We are very happy to note that you are from Israel, but you are working but you are doing research in our country. So hope you are enjoying our country and hope you are happy in joining with our team. Thank you, dear Susan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation. Next, today's speaker is Dr. Anjay Kumar Mishra, and he is doing a postdoctoral and he is working in Nepal. And he has done his PhD in project management from Kanpur University. And he is a professor at Kathmandu College of Management. And he is a consultant at Nepal Government, DWSS, Beton Infratech LLP, Pune, India. So his skills and expertise are in project management, business analysis, operational management, industrial management. And now he will deliver the topic operation status, case analysis of water related projects. Now I hand over the session to Dr. Anjay Kumar Mishra.
Welcome, Dr. Anjay Kumar, sir. So happy that you have joined as a speaker from Nepal. Sir, please. Hey, sir.
So can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Start.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Now I'd like your permission to start my presentation. So,
Sir, let your video is on, sir. Video camera on, sir.
okay, so yes, we know that 2.2 billion people throughout the world are still do not have access to safe drinking water. More than half of the world population lack access to adequate sanitation till today also. So as in Nepal, 10.8 million people lack access to better sanitation while 3.5 million lack.
Sir, Anjay sir, your
Yes,
screen is
please.
not able to share. Can you stop sharing and again you can share, sir? Ah, again you can try.
Okay, okay. Now you can check my screen is there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can proceed. Screen is visible.
Okay, okay. And 3.5 million lack access to basic water services in context of Nepal. So there are some reasons why it's happening. There is a need of a project commissioning process, as project commissioning process can only assure the system which we are installing is of quality to provide service. However, we construct the system, but we are transferring it to society without commissioning, since the practice in Nepal is to construct by the government, since it's a basic infrastructure. However, its operation should be handled by the user committee, by the society itself. So before transferring it to the system, to the society, its commissioning must be done. There is lack of effective management transfer, either they are not able how to transfer. Under the process of transferring itself, there is weakness. The whole or complete process is not taken care of, or the society is not capable of taking it. So there is drying up day by day. All the existing water sources are having questions. Water resources are drying. So maybe one reason, if commissioning and handover process could be made effective, the system would provide effective service to society. On this concept only, we have conducted this case study with help of students for data collections as well. So this is just a flow chart, and this is our study area. This study area is Sunsari district, one of the district in eastern Nepal. This is the whole map of Nepal, and this place is in eastern Nepal, nearby Indian borders. The northern eastern part of Indian border is connected with these districts, and in these districts we have taken two water supply system. One is one system is this both the systems situated in the same districts, and since this study is conducted by using ex post facto method, means the real data of the study is taken practically from the same place, and we have tried to compare both. This is called Pokali water supply system and Bahraul water supply system. These are the two water supply systems. So we have compared during management transfer process what are the indicators that should be taken care of, and the indicator proposed are calibration of the systems, sterilization of the systems, water users committee, water operations standards, documentation is maintained or not, water users committee business plan is in place We miss to take care of software parts of the business. So these are some indicators of management transfer. We have compared in both the systems and found that treatment units are there in both the system, and system is calibrated. Distribution systems are right, piping is maintained in both the systems, means sterilization is also maintained, and water users operations manuals are available in both the systems. However, business planning is yet to be developed. These people, this society are lacking the business plan, operational plan. So that parts are seems to be somehow weak. Project completion document is handed over to water user commission, so maintenance could be done. In these aspects, we have conducted 3 jobs. The number one job is to analyze the adopted process of project commissioning. This we have done
Sir,
through the.
Anjay sir, can you share the presentation again? Presentation is gone.
It's okay. Can you see my presentation, ma'am?
No, sir. No, sir.
No, sir.
Presentation is not visible.
Now you can see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Proceed.
Okay. So 3 jobs is done. Number one, analysis of the adopted process during project commissioning. This is done on the basis of questionnaire and the documentation available at project, and comparison had been made with detailed project report and commissioning checklist along with the questionnaires, because all the times it was not possible for researcher to stay on the project only, so questionnaire has been taken care of with the questionnaire and from the secondary documents of the project. Since it is a government project, so all the documentation has been made. Transformation process has been conducted. For that, water test, technical and financial and institutional status of the systems has been compared. The last job done is to compare the current infrastructure of the project. What are the functionality status of those projects, how its operating ratios are maintained, staff productivity ratios are maintained. This is done with the help of observations, questionnaires and document available at site. So when we discuss about the project commissioning steps in both the systems, commissioning commissioning is conducted on 9 steps. The number one steps of project commissioning is planning. So planning for the commissioning found to be maintained on both the sides, on both the projects. Even in Baraul and Pakuli, both the projects are found. They are having strong planning for implementing the commissioning. However, this Baraul is having somehow better income in planning also, because plannings were found to be specified through the steps. However, in Pakoli, all the functions written in one sentence that commissioning would be planned. So if you write just commissioning would be planned, then you'll be confused what are the activities you have to do. However, if you give its proper breakdown of the work structure, then you will be clear what you are going to do the next. In mechanical completion, both the projects were weak. None of the projects were defining what are the indicators that assure the project is mechanically completed or not. Mechanical completion means contractor has already claimed the system is completed. After that, it's client, consultant, and regulatory authority who should check whether the system is completed or not. Maybe you have heard that in one water supply during this mechanical completion verification process only, one of the engineer has lost their life in Melanchi water supply, one of the biggest water supply system of Nepal, lost their life also. So during mechanical completion only we can assure safety and quality of the projects. For that points of view also, we should take care of our mechanical system of completion. However, this was missing in both the systems. Pre-commissioning. None of the systems were implementing pre-commissioning and commissioning. They were weak over here. However, during a startup, they were allocating staffs and they were planning to conduct how they will provide reliable and valid service. So they are making a routine for the water supply depending upon their area coverage. So pre-commissioning and commissioning is still weak. They were not performing. When we take care of management transfer process regarding calibration of the system in Pakoli, no water distribution network problem, it was well functioning. Baraul, no water distribution network problem, well functioning. So calibration of the systems was maintained in both the system. Sterilization, bacterial contamination from system is removed. System was sterilized in Pakuli, and even in Baraul, bacterial contamination from the system is removed and it was sterilized. So sterilization were taking place since both the systems were having treatment plant, so it was obvious that they will do it. Followed by water users and sanitation committee, water operation standards document were in place. So management runs under certain operation process. A standard and transparent management process were adopted. In documentations, the things were clear, the things were coherent, nothing was misleading information over there, and all the valves and points piping systems were given through their GIS locations that could have made the systems easier in future for its maintenance also. But business plan were lacking in both the systems. Both the systems have not provided adequate and proper business. We are trying to ask that the system is in a startup phase. Business plan 8, then how the system will be operated, they were responding. They were just responding. We have not developed business plan 8. So this shows they are not having, society is not capable of conducting the business operation of the systems. Access to and use of sanitary toilet, no, yes, in both the water supply projects catchment area, there were no open defecations since almost Nepal is declared ODF districts, ODF nation. So in that aspects, it was obvious that this water supply system would also not face any problem, and same thing were confirmed during field visit as well. So project completion document is handed over, but it was not handed. It should be handed over to the society when their user committee is already formed. But none of the water user committee were having anything related to project, though in the project document, when we check from its construction office from where it was constructed, systems were fully constructed, mechanically completed, along with these points that which valve and what maintenance point could be there possibly in the future, and measurement of all water supply, all indicators. So maintenance would have been easy, but this was not handed to water users committee who would be responsible for maintaining the systems from now and then. So it was found that majority of Pakoli water supply sanitation project were not knowing about initial comparison in comparison to that of Barol water supply. So Barol water supply system was somehow more informed in comparison to that of Pakoli. Both are poor in testing and comparing the systems. Once you are transferring your system to society, comparison and testing should have been done. But both the systems were somehow weak. They were not providing any of the output, but this output were not tested in both the systems. When we check their functionality status, we come
Sir, you're requested to conclude, sir.
constructed so it does not need any maintenance. That might be because the system seems to be effectively functioning. However, the proper management was not done in terms of transfer and handover. So when it needs maintenance, user committee could not maintain the system, and there could be a questions on its functionality in future. So Pakoli water supply system staff response, immediate immediate supply is better than that of Barol. Barol was saying that the system is constructed, but the discharge of water that should be maintained is still lacking. So system is newly constructed, still questions started to come, means the systems are facing problem. When we compare water quality based on water quality test report as shown over here, you can see in both the systems, and you just compare through the effectiveness of water commissioning process, and we can correlate how commissioning can assure better functioning of a water supply system. So Barol, there was somehow better commissioning process, well managed uh, commissioning system, and here you can see
Sir, you're
the
requested to conclude, sir.
okay, okay, 2 minutes. So we have compared all the systems throughout this, and the systems comparison could be seen. And finally, what we can conclude, both the selected projects were found completing planning the project commissioning. None of the selected projects were found competent in mechanical completion. Both of selected projects were found competent in piping and instrumentation diagram. None of the selected projects were found competent in pre-commissioning of the project commissioning, and both the projects were having this operating ratio 0.8 and 0.72, which said that these systems are financial viable to be completed. Escherichia coli was defective, was found in Pakuli. Maybe piping system was not proper, so piping systems sterilizations were not there in the system that could have done, since the spring water source was also a spring, so that could have affected over here. That's why these are some references, and even I could not share recommendations. These are some photographs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. You can share the recommendations with the session head, Manimala madam. Thank you, sir.
They said thanks a lot for joining, sir. So you please share the recommendations with us, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So your session, sir, I like to thank you. Your session on operation status analysis revealed both the progress and challenges in water-related projects, underscoring the need for sustained efforts and innovation to ensure long-term success and resilience. Thank you, sir.
Next, let us hand over the session to space team Anuradha ma'am. We have done with our first part of water element. So we'll be joining tomorrow again. Thanks a lot,
Thank you,
our
the
session
water team.
coordinators and the organizers. Thank you all.
Thank you.
so much.
Bye.
Yeah, over to you, Anuradha ma'am and Benu sir.
Good morning, everyone. Greetings to all. Now there is St. Xavier's College. Sir, Bino sir, are you there? There is an awareness program on space science. It is handed over to Beno sir.
Good morning, all. Thank you so much, ma'am. So our Sensevis team is ready. Now I request Dr. Subida ma'am, coordinator, and all the team, and immediately start the space exploring session. Welcome all.
Good morning,
Yeah.
dear students. Anufa. Start it, Amma.
Hello everyone, welcome to Horizon ENVIRONTHON 2024. Today we have the incredible opportunity to delve into an important and timely topic, exploring space sustainability. Please unmute Panava. To start our event on a reflective note, we will begin with a beautiful prayer song. Let's invite Dr. A. Subida, Associate Professor of St. Xavier's Catholic College of Engineering, to sing a song.
Light of the world, you step down into darkness. Open my eyes, let me see beauty that made this heart adore you. Hope of a life spent with you. Here I am to worship, here I am to bow down, here I am to say that you're my God. You're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. Here I am to worship, here I am to bow down, here I am to say that you're my God. You're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. Thank you.
Your performance provided a perfect tone for what followed. Following the prayer song, I would like to welcome Ms. Anufa to deliver the welcome address.
It's my great pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to Eisen ENVIRONTHON 2024. Today, we are honored to have our esteemed members and valued guests to join us for this important occasion. Your presence here reflects a shared commitment to exploring space sustainability, and we are excited to embark on this journey together. Institution of Green Engineers organization focuses on promoting sustainable engineering practices and advancing green technologies to address environmental challenges. Exploring sustainability involves developing and implementing practices to ensure that space activities can continue without causing long-term harm to the space environment or Earth's environment. As we proceed with today's program, let's embrace this opportunity to connect, plan, and collaborate. Thank you for being here and for your continued support. Let's make this event a memorable and impactful experience. Welcome you all.
Thank you. Your introduction was both informative and welcoming. Next, we will hear an inspiring speech from Ms. Annie Sheffin about exploring space sustainability.
kindly unmute and speak.
We will now move on to a detailed presentation. Let's welcome Mr. Ebi to give a presentation about space, debris, and sustainability.
So thank you for this opportunity. So hello everyone. Today I will be talking about space debris and sustainability, why it matters and the challenges we face and what we can do to ensure the long-term safety of our space activities. So, introduction to space debris. So, first of all, what's space debris? So, space debris or space junk is a collection of defunct satellites, old rocket pods, and fragments from past collisions that are left floating in the orbit around Earth. So, it may not sound like much of a problem at first, but it's becoming a serious threat to our satellites, space stations, and also our future explorations. So, why is it important? So, why it matters? So, well, satellites are critical for our daily life things like for weather forecasting, GPS, communication, and also for scientific research also depend on them. So the more debris we have in space, the greater the chance that these services could be disrupted someday. The problem of space debris. So currently we have more than 30,000 pieces of trackable debris orbiting Earth. So trackable pieces are the objects that are larger than 10 centimeters. And we also have millions of smaller pieces that can't be tracked. Now you might wonder, why worry about small debris? So even these tiny fragments traveling at high speed are still, they can still damage or destroy a satellite. So where does all this debris come from? So these pieces come from defunct satellites, spent rocket stages, and also fragments from collisions. The impact is very alarming. So space debris increases the risk of collisions with active satellites, space stations like the ISS, and also it drives up the insurance cost for the space missions. So, a few notable incidents include the 2009 Iridium Cosmos satellite collision, where an defunct Russian satellite Cosmos 2251, I think, it collided with an Operation American satellite, Iridium. So, it collided with the Cosmos in the low Earth orbit and created thousands of debris. And also another incident was the 2007 China's anti-missile test, anti-satellite test. So there they used an missile to destroy the satellite. So that time they destroyed their own defunct satellite, and also it created a lot of debris. So here we can see some pictures. So you can see the impact of the Iridium Cosmos collision after 1 year. So you can see how the debris is spread along the around the Earth. Also, this is from the China's 2007 anti-satellite test. And this is the spread of collision debris in the orbital planes. So you can see how in the beginning it may not spread much, but as the time increases, it will be spreading everywhere. The challenges in the space debris management. So one of the biggest challenges we face right now is the Kessler syndrome. So this refers to a scenario where the collisions in the low Earth orbit create more debris, so leading to a chain of collisions. So that could render these orbits very unusable. Another challenge is the So another challenge is the tracking of the debris. So only objects larger than the 10 centimeters can be reliably tracked, whereas the smaller debris, they can't be tracked, and also they're very dangerous. Furthermore, there is no global agreement on how to remove debris. Like the international governance efforts are currently lacking in this area, making it harder to manage the growing threat. In other words, we don't have very strict rules about littering in space. Next, we will see some sustainable space solutions. So what can we do about it? So what can we do about the debris? To address this issue, several sustainable space solutions are being explored. First, we need end-of-life procedures for the satellites, such as deorbiting them when they are no longer in use or moving them to graveyard orbits or disposal orbits. So they won't be, so they won't, they won't damage the active satellites. Also, we need to design the satellites with sustainability in mind by making them capable of self-deorbiting when they are not in use, and also to make sure that they burn up safely during the re-entry. Finally, we must also focus on the preventative measures to minimize the debris creation to ensure safer operations in space. So, while prevention is also important, so we also need to clean up the debris that's already up there, right? So for this, there are several promising technologies that are currently being explored. For instance, nets or robotic arms could be used to capture large debris and safely deorbit it. And also another method is using ground-based lasers are also another option, which could gently push the smaller debris into lower orbits so that it would eventually re-enter Earth and burn up. And other ideas include using magnetic tethers that drag the debris out of the orbit using the Earth's magnetic field. So here's a simple simulation of how these technologies would work. Okay. So next we will see about the international cooperation for the space sustainability. So space is a shared resource. No single country can solve this debris problem alone. So addressing space debris issue requires international cooperation. So for this, the Outer Space Treaty of 1967 ensures that the space is used for peaceful purposes, but it doesn't include anything about the debris management. Also, the UN guidelines on space sustainability provide recommendations to limit debris creation and also promote responsibility, but there is no legal binding. In addition, space agencies like the European Space Agency and NASA are leading research on the debris tracking and mitigation technologies. Still, without a global agreement, the issue remains difficult to manage. It's what the future of space debris and sustainability. So as we look into the future, the challenges around the space debris will increase. So one major issue is the growing number of the mega constellations. So such as the SpaceX Starlink. So they are planning to send almost thousands of satellites in the orbit. So for global internet coverage. So means that the space is getting more and more crowded. So in the future, it will there will be many satellites that will be launched. So in the future, the space will be more and more crowded, will be getting more crowded. So if we don't act now, we could soon reach a tipping point where the problem becomes very uncontrollable. So we need to invest in debris removal technologies, push for stronger international regulations, and continue innovating in satellite design for sustainability. So, in conclusion, the space debris issue isn't just a technical problem, so it's an environmental one. So, if we don't take action, the growing debris problem could limit our ability to explore the space. Space sustainability is about protecting the vital resources for future generations. So it's time for countries, organizations, and private companies to work together and to make space a safer place, not just for now, also for the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Your detailed and engaging presentation gave us a deeper understanding. Now I would like to welcome Mr. Agash Roshan to deliver a poem.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here to share with you a poem I wrote, The Melancholy of a Plug. I felt proud of technological innovation that consequently increased congestion, which caused a lot of fume emission, affecting heavens that protect heavy sunbursts. In this pernicious world fabricated, we live with trepidation and agitation. I ascertained and paying the piper for wiping off the earth's face. I perceived and coalesced to ameliorate the sustainable goals. Technology guides me through the path of fate. Although it made me proud, it conquers the mortal. Where I am clueless and startled in life, trapped in the contemporary world as debris in space was. To be tenacious and stalwarts where we collect and life. Lackadaisical and disinclination in Austin doesn't make the maker wrath. Thus, pursue and strive for a finer, sustainable society. Thank you.
Thank you for a wonderful poem. To add a touch of fun and creativity, we would like to welcome our IGEN members to entertain us with a sketch.
Order in the court. Today we address the grave matter of Earth versus carbon dioxide. The Earth accuses carbon dioxide of trapping in sunlight, exacerbating global warming, and polluting the surrounding space, while the defense claims CO2 is vital for our ecosystem. Prosecution, you may begin now.
Today we will show that CO2 in its excessive amounts has trapped harmful levels of sunlight, polluted the space around our planet, and contributed significantly to rising global temperatures. Earth is suffering and CO2 must be held accountable.
Your Honor, while the prosecution is quick to cast blame on CO2, they fail to understand that CO2 is a fundamental part of life on Earth. If there is a villain in this story, it is not CO2. It's simply the laws of nature at play. We will demonstrate.
Very well. Prosecution, you may call upon your first witness.
Son, could you describe your interactions with CO2 and its effect on the Earth?
I provide energy to the Earth in the form of sunlight. Some of this energy is naturally trapped by these gases like CO2, which keep the planet warm. But CO2 is accumulating at alarming levels, trapping far more heat than necessary.
And what has been the result of the heat increase?
Glaciers are melting, sea levels are rising, and the ecosystem are collapsing. It is as a planet is caught in a greenhouse, unable to breathe. And it's not just going to the Earth. This excess CO2 is spilling into the space, polluting the very environment around the planet.
May I cross-examine? Proceed.
Son, you mentioned that CO2 helps trap heat and keeps Earth warm. Is not it true that without CO2, Earth would be a frozen wasteland?
Yes, in moderate amounts.
And would you agree that CO2 levels fluctuate naturally even without human interference?
To some degree, yes, but not at the rate we are seeing now.
So the real problem is not CO2 itself, but the quantity of CO2 driven by certain activities, correct?
Yes, the excess is caused by outside influence.
Thank you. No further questions.
Trees, how CO2 affected you? CO2 is essential to my life. I absorb in during photosynthesis and release oxygen in return. But latterly, those more CO2 that I cannot handle. The excess is suffering leave me damaged. The air is toxic and I cannot keep up.
Has the excess CO2 caused the lasting damage to ecosystem?
It has forest and struggling to maintain balance. The high temperature have caused fire, drops, and early death for many of my kind.
Objection. Are the trees truly suffering because of CO2, or is it because humans have deforested entire region, reducing their ability to absorb CO2?
Objection sustained. Proceed, but make it relevant.
Trees, you say you thrive on CO2. Is it true that without CO2 you won't exist?
I need CO2, but I need balance, not this overwhelming flow of it.
So again, the issue is in CO2 itself, but how the balance has been thrown off, correct?
Yes, that's true.
No further questions.
We call the people to stand. People, how CO2 affected the quality of your life?
We have experienced rising temperature, extreme weather, pollution. CO2 level have risen because of the way we use fossil fuels. But it's complicated. We need energy, progress. We don't have it.
So, you admit your actions have contributed to rise in CO2 levels?
We do know at first. And now, well, we just can't stop. We need power, transportation, technology. What else are we supposed to do?
People, you claim that CO2 is to blame for your suffering, yet you continue to burn fossil fuels, cutting down forests, and pollute the environment. Is not it true that if you changed your habits, CO2 levels would stabilize?
Maybe, but we are not the only one responsible. The whole system is built this way.
Yet you refuse to accept that CO2 in moderation is vital to life. You are simply unwilling to change, correct?
Simple. We are doing what we can.
No further questions.
Space, how has excess CO2 affected you?
The excess CO2 has begun to sweep beyond Earth's atmosphere. Clouds the space around the Earth, altering its natural balance. I, once pure and untouched, am now polluted. Satellites are affected by this increased drag, and the debris from human society worsens the problem.
And could this lead to further complications beyond Earth?
If unchecked, yes, the accumulation of debris both from CO2 and other pollutants could make space exploration and future human survival beyond Earth far more difficult.
Space, isn't true that you have remained unaffected for millions of years, regardless of what happened on Earth?
Until now, the pollution is spreading.
But surely you can absorb more CO2 than Earth, right?
Perhaps, but that doesn't mean it should be allowed to continue. Earth is out of balance. The excess is already impacting what lies beyond its atmosphere.
No further questions.
We have heard all the testimonies from both the prosecution and the defense. Before I make my final ruling, let me hear your final statement.
Your Honor, the evidence is overwhelming. CO2, while a natural part of the ecosystem, has spiraled out of the control due to the human activity.
Your Honor, CO2 is merely doing its job, sustaining life. It is not CO2 fault that humans have abused its presence. The real issue lies with how the balance of nature has been thrown off. CO2 is not guilty.
I have considered all the arguments, both from the prosecution and from the defense. And here is my verdict. While carbon dioxide has indeed increased to dangerous levels, the evidence shows that it is not carbon dioxide itself that is to blame, but the reckless actions of humanity. Yes, carbon dioxide is not guilty. It is you, people, who have distorted nature's balance for your own needs. The court finds humanity responsible for the imbalance in nature. However, this is not a sentence, but a call for action. The evidence presented shows that the forces of nature, including carbon dioxide, are essential and is in
Thank you. You brought a unique and creative touch to our event that we will all remember. Now, I'd like to welcome Ms. Dani Gracia to deliver a speech on exploring space sustainability.
Exploring space sustainability is crucial as humanity ventures deeper into space. As we increase space exploration from satellites to manned missions, we face the challenges of managing space debris and conserving resources. Sustainable space practices involve minimizing waste, reusing spacecraft components, and ensuring that our activities do not harm the space environment for future generations. Developing efficient propulsion systems using renewable resources like solar power and creating recycling systems for space missions can reduce the environment impact. By prioritizing sustainability in space, we do not only protect our planet's orbit, but also ensure the long-term success of our exploration and continued availability of space for future discoveries.
Thank you. Your words offered us valuable insights throughout the program. This is a moment for us all to reaffirm our commitment to it in our shared values. Let's welcome Ms. Infant Simoni to take a pledge.
I invite everyone present to put your right hand over your heart and let our voice echo around us. Let us pledge not only with spoken words, but also with a solemn belief in our hearts. Switch to renewable energy sources like solar, wind, or hydroelectric power for your home. Support policies and initiatives that promote the development and use of renewable energy. Use energy-efficient appliances and light bulbs. Insulate your home to reduce heating and cooling needs. Turn off lights and unplug devices when not in use. Minimize waste by choosing renewable products over single-use items. Recycle paper, plastic, and glass metal. Compost organic waste to reduce landfill emission. Walk or use public transportation whenever possible. Consider carpooling or using ride-sharing services. Invest in an electric or hybrid vehicle if feasible. Plant trees and support reforestation projects. Protect and restore natural habitats and forests. By taking the pledge to reduce our carbon footprint, we commit to making a positive difference in the fight against climate change. Every small action counts, and when combined, they lead to significant change. Let us all take responsibility for our planet's future and strive to live a healthier, more sustainable world for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much for a generous pledge. As we approach the end of our program, we will conclude with a vote of thanks. Let's welcome Ms. Abhisha to deliver vote of thanks.
First of all, I extend my most sincere thanks to the Almighty God for making today's event a resounding success. Next, I would like to thank ENVIRONTHON ENVIRONTHON team for organizing such a wonderful event. I would also like to extend my gratitude to our correspondent, principal, and vice principal for supporting us. I thank our IGEN coordinators who helped a lot even in their busy schedule. I would also like to thank the volunteers and members of IGEN. Finally, a wide round of applause and thanks to the audience here for making the time to be with us. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you all for being a part of today's event. We hope you found it engaging and inspiring. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you at our next events.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I think it is over, this St. Xavier call. It is on time, sir, and thank you so much. We hand over the session to the next session. Ishrat ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Anuradha ma'am. Thank you, Benu sir, and the complete team for the wonderful thing. Now I hand over the session to Madan sir, the element head of fire team. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. It is a pleasure to be here in this ENVIRONTHON 2024. Wonderful sessions are going on. So thank you, water element and fire element, earth element for connecting wonderful sessions. And it's my pleasure and privilege to welcome our esteemed guest, Srivitya Sukumar ma'am from internship in International University. So I would like to call upon our coordinator, Maheshwari ma'am, to give introduction about our chief guest for our inaugural address of our fire element. Maheshwari ma'am, over to
Yes,
you,
sir.
ma'am.
I'm audible, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Good morning to everyone present here. We are delighted to present on behalf of IGN for the Panchbhutas Element Fire. It's a great pleasure to have our inauguration for this session, and we wholeheartedly welcome Dr. Sri Vidya Sukumar ma'am, the chief guest for our inauguration. Ma'am is an educationist, entrepreneur, quality assurance and compliance expert. She is a strategic transformation in the R&D consultant. She is a master coach of life and business, a global chair of GSFN, ESG advocate, global ambassador of United Nations, Sharjah Emirates, United Arab Emirates. Ma'am, we welcome you for the inauguration as a chief guest. Kindly take over the session, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Maheshwari ma'am. That was very kind of you. Thanks, Madan sir, for all the excellent coordination that you've done. And the team IGEN for having us here today on this platform and for such a great initiative. Well, talking about fire, we all know that fire is one such element of among all the natural elements that is quite indispensable, without which nothing can happen in this earth. Because every day morning, if we don't have a sunlight, then what do? We get really stuck, isn't it? So fire is a very important aspect of everybody's life. On that note, thanks for inviting me to be the inauguration part of it. Going ahead, like everything, as we have seen, everything in this nature is made up of the 5 basic elements, that is earth, water, and fire, and space. And the knowledge of these 5 elements allows the yogi or a person to understand the laws of nature as such and to use to attain greater health, power, knowledge, and wisdom and happiness. This arises out of the deep intuition, and this is how the whole universe operates. So the Ayurveda believes that everything in this universe is made up of the Panchabhuta. The Panchabhuta are the 5 elements that we're talking right from the morning, right from so far. That is Prithvi, earth is Prithvi, and water is Jala, heat is Agni, air is Vayu, and space is Akash. Collectively, they're termed as Panchabhutas. These constitute the minute elements which constitute the living and non-living matters. On that note, I would like to welcome the 2 other speakers who have joined me on this platform, Dr. Virginia Rivera and Ms. Maha. So little to know about Dr. Virginia. Dr. Virginia is highly accomplished, dedicated business professional with extensive experience as a certified business mentor, coach, and consultant. She is also a media proprietor and a partner of a renowned business conglomerate that is IIU University. And under her guidance, Virginia has successfully established 4 business programs under Solopreneurs, her personal brand operating from Puerto Rico, the USA, Peru. On that note, we welcome you on board with us, Dr. Virginia. Please carry on the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Srividya. I am very excited to be here with you today. I know that it's very, very early for you, and I appreciate the fact that the consideration was taken for all of us around the world that have a different time zone. So I am very, very thankful for the invitation and also for the time consideration. Today we're going to be talking about global warming and climate change. And I think these 2 terms are interchangeable. People use them interchangeably. They're very, very different. One definitely has to do with the other, but they're not the same thing. And today, this is going to be a very simple presentation. And I do hope that people will understand how we impact and the effect that humans can have on this. So every effort that we make here, every effort that we make in every single one of these wonderful sessions that are so informative, I see so many young people taking action. What I do want is not only that that action is done by them, but that they become emissaries of the world that we live in, and that other people will do the same. So I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation. And like I said, this is going to be a very simple to understand presentation. And I think the simpler we can get, sometimes it makes the biggest impact because everyone can understand. I think we've talked about this never ending, how global warming is really affecting every part of our existence because it's really impacting climate change. Global warming is part of the ever effect of climate change, but they're not the same thing. And let's see and understand this impact. So today we're going to explore the causes, the effects, and the potential solutions to a pressing issue, not for some, but for all. So what is climate change? Climate change refers to the long-term changes in temperature, precipitation, and other climate patterns on Earth. It is primarily driven by us, by humans, such as burning fossil fuels, deforestation, which actually releases greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. So what is global warming? Global warming is a specific aspect of climate change. It's the one that refers to the overall increase in the Earth's average temperature. This warming trend is primarily attributed to increased concentration of the greenhouse effect in the atmosphere. So what are the causes of this increment in global warming and how it's causing climate change? Number one, the burning of fossil fuels. Number two, deforestation. Deforestation, I'm going to explain every single one of these aspects as we move forward. Industrial activities, agriculture. You would probably think that agriculture is a great thing. It is. But if our practices are not environmentally friendly and they're not responsible, then it's not good for the environment. Transportation. So the causes of climate change are varied, but they're very much interconnected, stemming from human activities mostly. We are the ones who are causing this effect. We release greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. It gets caught where we live, where we're at in the atmosphere. And what it does, it makes where we live a lot hotter. I don't know if you have experienced it, but I have. I was just in India in July, and I thought I was going to die. I had been in India 2 summers ago in July, and it did not feel this way. Something is definitely happening, and it's time for us to take charge. Addressing these causes through sustainable practices, renewable energy, and policy changes is essential if we want to mitigate the impacts of climate change. So let's evaluate and see what the causes are for climate change. Number one, burning of fossil fuels. What is this? Fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas are burned for energy production, right? This is what we use to create energy, to make things happen for transportation and industrial processes. This combustion releases greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide and methane, into the atmosphere. And what happens is it gets trapped and makes heat. And this contributes to the global warming, as I said before. Deforestation is the clearing of forests for agriculture, for logging, and urban development. We see it every day. We see it, people not even thinking about the effects. Every time that we kill a tree, think of it, we kill a bunch of humans. So wouldn't you think that we would find better ways to really make things better? I'm going to present to you in a little while a city around the world all the way in Latin America that is definitely doing something about deforestation. Trees absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So this is why trees are so important. So when you deforest, you reduce the planet's ability to really sequester the carbon, take it out, and contributes to the buildup of greenhouse gases. Industrial activity. For the longest time, for many, many, many years, we've all seen a bunch of factories with black smoke coming up. Did we ever think that we were going to be able to coexist happily with this smoke? Actually, we can't. And we're actually feeling the effects today. Industrial activities such as manufacturing, mining, and construction emit large amounts of these greenhouse gases that we talked about and other pollutants. The production of goods and services that we love so much and that we can't live without actually contributes to air and water pollution, as well as the release of heat-trapping gases that contribute to the climate change. So you see, when we really think about it, it's just us that we have to blame. Burning of, okay, we already did this. Agriculture. If you really think about going back to agriculture and really dedicating time to it, it's really, really great. I'm all for it. But agriculture is a significant contributor to climate change through the practices that we're doing. They're erroneous. They're not the correct way. They're not ethically friendly, such as livestock farming, fertilizer use, and land use changes. When we talk about fertilizer, we're talking about chemical fertilizer. Livestock farming generates methane emissions, while fertilizer using chemicals releases nitrous oxide, both potent greenhouse gases that contribute to our global warming. And transportation. Again and again, we see all the planes and we love them. We see the ships, they're a little bit less harmful, not as much, but then we see the trucks everywhere, and the cars, and cars and cars. And those that live in very dense cities, like New York, like Chicago, like New Delhi, like London, where there's so much traffic, we really need to start thinking about carpooling. We really need to start thinking of how we can make a difference. Transportation includes cars, trucks, airplanes, and ships, and it's a major source of these greenhouse gases. The burning of fossil fuels for transportation releases too much carbon dioxide, and we can take action on this. So what are the effects of climate change? Number one, rising sea level. 2, extreme weather events. I don't know if you are going through it, but where I come from, I live in a small island in the Caribbean. Every September, we have to be prepared for hurricane. In 2017, we had Hurricane Maria. It was a number 5 hurricane and a tiny little island. The truth is that we don't think that what we do in India affects America, although what happens in America affects Africa. But you know, everything does. Another one of the effects of climate change is loss of biodiversity, disruption of ecosystems, and food and water scarcity. I'm going to be explaining each one of these. The effects of climate change are far-reaching, and their impact is not only into huge communities, but also the ecosystem of how our natural world exists. Addressing climate change through mitigation and adaptation with the strategic ideas in mind is essential to protect our planet and our future generations. So rising sea levels. Climate change leads to the melting of glaciers and ice caps, causing sea levels to rise. If you haven't seen the super documentary, look it up. You watch all these other movies, I'm going to invite you to watch a documentary on how the melting of the glaciers really affects all of us. Rising sea levels threaten coastal communities, infrastructure, and ecosystems, increasing the risk of flooding and erosion. I was in Norway in the Arctic Circle 4 years ago. I went in winter, in the middle of winter, to the Arctic Circle. It was almost 50 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in the metric system, but in Celsius. But Fahrenheit, it means practically summer weather in the middle of winter. So you see, everything that we do, you may not think it's affecting you, but it affects not only you, but every single one of us. Extreme weather events. Climate change is associated with more frequent and intense extreme weather events, such as hurricanes, heat waves, droughts, and wildfires. We experienced heat waves this summer. I think a lot of countries are still going through this. These events can lead to property damage, loss of life, displacement of communities, and economic disruption. So what is the loss of biodiversity? Climate change will affect the ecosystem and its habitat, leading to loss of flora and fauna. We learned this when we were in school. We still want to protect, so we're still harming, but it's up to us to really mitigate the loss of our biodiversity, disruption of their ecosystem. Every time that we develop, every time that we make cement and stone, the most important thing, more than trees and nature, we're really robbing our flora and our fauna from their habitat. We are doing this to ourselves. And this is what we have to make sure that we eliminate. The effects of climate change also affect our food and water scarcity. Climate change affects agricultural productivity, water availability, and food security. Changes in temperature, precipitation patterns can lead to crop failures, water scarcity, and food shortages. And we see how this is affecting the world now. How does it impact our health? So it's not only nature. I think a lot of times when we think about the environment, we think about the outside. We forget that it also affects our inside. And this is why it's so important. It increases heart-related illnesses, spreads infectious diseases, air and water pollution, which will make us sick, mental health impacts, displacement of community. When you have floods, hurricanes, we need to move our people from one place to the other. The impact of climate change on human health is profound and multifaceted, affecting physical, mental, and social well-being. We need to address these climate change issues now so we can build resilient communities. It is crucial in order for us to safeguard human health and well-being. So rising temperatures due to climate change leads to heart-related illnesses, heat stroke, and dehydration. Vulnerable populations such as the elderly, children, and people that are already compromised really are most affected. Also, climate change can alter the geographic distribution and the prevalence of infectious diseases. It's not only malaria and dengue and Lyme. We saw what happened with the pandemic. Changes in temperature and precipitation can create favorable conditions for disease and pathogens. Air and water pollution. I don't really need to go into this, but I want to remind you how important it is because this is what goes into our body. This is how we nourish ourselves. This is how we make sure that we are functioning. Climate change contributes to air and water pollution through the release of these greenhouse gases. Poor air quality can exacerbate any type of respiratory condition that you may have. And it affects our mental health. Significant mental health impacts because it includes anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. All this affects the inside of the human, not only where they live outside, but inside. Displacement of communities, I think, is probably one of the saddest. Climate change related events such as sea level rise, extreme weather conditions, and droughts can force communities to have to relocate, leave where they've been, their tradition, their customs, and just go to new places. Many refugees face challenges today due to displacement, loss of homes, livelihood, and social networks. So you see, it's not only outside, it's not only about chopping trees and saving paper. It's really about so much more. It's really about us and the life that we lead. So what are the solutions to climate change? Transition to renewable energy sources, sustainable agricultural practices, reforestation and forest conservation, energy efficiency and conservation, and international cooperation and policy change. I'm going to go to the first one. So, transitions to renewable energy sources. Transitioning from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, hydroelectric, and geothermal power can reduce these greenhouse gases. Investing in renewable energy infrastructure and technology is essential for sustainable energy in the future. This is not only in big corporations. This is actually in your home. There's solutions for you in your home. Implementing sustainable agricultural practices such as organic farming, crop rotation, and agroforestry can reduce emissions from agriculture. And then agriculture will be the blessing and the godsend that we know it can be. Practices that enhance soil health, water conservation, and biodiversity contribute to climate resilience. And that's an important term that we're going to be using again and again. Climate resilience. Reforestation and forest conservation. In Medellin, Colombia, every time an entrepreneur opens a brick and mortar building, they have to promise that they will plant 5 trees. Every time that a merchant opens a new business, they have to plant 5 trees. If you go to Medellin, Colombia, you will see how beautiful cement and nature interact. Actually, they can coexist. We just have to be intentional with our effort. Reforestation initiatives and forest conservation is so much more than having our kids in school plant on one day. We all do this. You know what? Those trees die because nobody's there to follow up. So it's up to us. Protecting the forests that already exist and planting those trees can mitigate the impact, but we need to be there and we need to follow up on the procedures. So solutions to climate change, energy efficiency and conservation, improving energy efficiency in buildings, transportation, and industrial processes, implementing energy-saving technologies such as LED lighting. It's so easy. Instead of going to buy your nice soft yellow light, make sure they're LED lighting and energy-efficient appliances. The other ones may be cheaper, but if you don't have a planet to live in, what are you saving for? So international cooperation is key. Policy changes have to exist. The most important thing is that we learn from each other. If India is guiding us, we will follow India. If the US is really making sure that public policy is reinforced, we will follow suit because we'll have results. And when we have results, then we know that things work. So we need pioneers. We need people that, and governments and civic organizations that will make the effort and will make sure that it does work. And how can you impact? How can every single one of us impact? Number one, stop using plastic. Can it be any more easy? I mean, this is easier. Like, stop throwing your garbage out on the street. I mean, I don't understand. I go to beautiful countries and I see so much garbage in the streets. In the US, you can throw garbage out or you will be fined. We do a lot of other awful things, but we don't throw our garbage out. Let's start with that. If you eat something, take the garbage with you, throw it away in a can. Make sure that it's disposed of. And start protecting our water resources. That means do not use chemicals close to your water resources. Where there's a body of water, don't wash your clothes with chemicals. Don't throw away garbage. These are the things that we can actually do that are so simple. Reduce energy consumption at home. Turn everything off if you're not using it. Use public transportation or carpool. Leave the Mercedes home, the BMW. You know what? You don't need it. Carpool with somebody. Support sustainable businesses. If you know that a business is reusing, it's reducing, and it's recycling, go patronize. Go spend your money there. That's where you need to go. And apply it to yourself. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. They're just not cute words. They're actually there for a reason. Advocate for climate change. and climate action. Go to your government and tell them, let them know that you want your voice heard, that you're part of a bunch of people. If we all stay quiet, nothing happens. But if we all unite our voices together, we can cause change. It is imperative that we take immediate action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Everything we're doing now is producing these greenhouse gas emissions, but everything that we can do in the future will definitely help us reduce, protect our environment, and mitigate the impact of climate. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Virginia. That was a very amazing, wonderful presentation where you have beautifully highlighted almost all the factors which are related to climatic change that is being followed, that with rising sea levels, extreme weather conditions, which is affecting the ecosystem of the earth as such, and how to safeguard the earth. And thereby you have given already the solutions which are related to climatic change, transition to renewable energy sources, and investing more on the renewable energy sources, and following sustainable agriculture practices, and also enhancing soil health and water health and the biodiversity. And also, last but not the least, I think that the last thing was on individual actions to combat climatic change. Stop using plastic and throwing garbage on the street. Stop, like littering the whole place. Reduce energy consumption. Very good. Yes, definitely use public transport. Use sustainable businesses, and with reduce the 3R slogan of reduce, recycle, and reuse. Advocate climatic action, which is quite imperative to take the immediate action, as you rightly said, to reduce the green gas emissions, to protect the environment and mitigate the impacts of the climatic change. Thank you so much. That was really appreciated. And I would request you to stop sharing your screen if it's possible. And
I thought I had. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. And we have got our another speaker with us, Ms. Maha, who have been waiting from 3 o'clock. Thanks for your biggest patience. And definitely it shows that how you are passionate about your work and your commitment. Thank you. Hats off to you, Ms. Maha. And she's a dedicated training consultant, education leader, language advocate, and AI expert with over 20 years of experience in education. Her extensive background spans education management, instructional design, language expertise, and artificial intelligence. She is committed to empowering others through the effective communication and professional development. As a co-author of the Academic English series, New Times Today, Maha has always brought wealth of knowledge and practical insights in the roles of President of International Internship University and the Student Development Council, British Council Ambassador, Global School Alliance Ambassador, e-twinning Ambassador, and she leveraged her experience to drive positive change in education, but also in the society. Thank you so much, Ms. Maha, joining us on the platform. Over to you, Ms. Maha. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Servilia, for this amazing introduction. It's a great pleasure to be with you. Good morning, everyone. Even though it's midnight here in my country, it's almost 2 o'clock, but it's okay. Good morning, everyone, esteemed guests, fellow panelists, and audience members. Actually, I'm so honored and proud to be here today in order to discuss the pressing issue of the climate. Allow me just a minute to share my screen before I'm going to forget to do that. Just a minute. I think it's it's visible now. So as I just mentioned, I'm really grateful for being here today with you to discuss the pressing issues of the climate change and its profound impacts on future generation. As an educator, actually, I believe it's impressive to delve deeper into the challenge we face and explore the potential solution with a particular focus on the role of the awareness, especially among the students. Actually, to avoid repetition, because I prepared the part, I think, Dr. For your wonderful presentation. So I will try to avoid some of the repetitions. We just having, whenever we speak about the future generations, we are supposed to take into consideration the major effects of climate change, whether we are going to speak about the greenhouse effects, whether we are going to speak about human activities or global warming itself, as Dr. Virginia mentioned. Here comes the profound impacts of the future generation. Here, it's our duty as an educator, as environments, as people, for example, who take care of the environment, whatever we are going, whether we are going to be in America, Africa, Asia, etc. When we have a global warming, this is sure is going to affect the future generations. This is going to be the rising the sea level, the extreme weather events, the biodiversity loss. I mentioned, I'm not going to repeat to avoid the repetition. Also, this is sure is going to lead to the threat to the ecosystem and the biodiversity. I'm going to focus also, we don't have to, we have also to take into consideration, we don't have to forget about the disruption of the socio-economic system, whether it's going to come to agriculture, we are going to suffer from the space, whether it's going to come to infrastructure. And also we don't have to forget the profound impacts on health and how global change is going to impact the future generation health through the heat stress, the air pollution, and the spread of the diseases, increasing healthcare and burden. I would like just to focus more because I would like to focus more in my presentation. I just move quickly on the first slide. I would like to focus more on the call for action, the urgent need for action. Actually, we are supposed to just, it's very important for us to do a change. Whether, for example, if it's going to be the first step by reducing the emission, especially when it comes to using the new renewable energy sources, improving energy efficiency, and most importantly is reducing the deforestations, which we consider all important steps and crucial if we want to take care of our environment. We need to do an adaptation for the change. We need to teach the new generation to adapt to through developing strategies to manage the risk associated with the climate change, such as, for example, if it's come to water conservations or any types of resilient infrastructure. Also, it's very important to have an international cooperation. Global cooperation is very important, and that's actually what we are doing through such types of amazing programs, where we have educators, we have experts from different parts across the world in order to share this concern. It's essential to address climate change through shared responsibility and coordinate efforts. We as educators, we consider as an agents of a change. Why? Because at school, it's very important. We have different ages, and whenever we want to speak about a change, we are supposed to start with the kids. If we are going to teach kids later on, teenagers and adults, we are going to guarantee that the future generation are going to be a responsible one. That's why it's very important. It's essential. Schools play, not just schools, university also. That's why I'm stressing the role of educators today. They play an important role in promoting climate literacy. It's very important that we equip our students with the knowledge and the skill to understand the climate change and its impacts, because unfortunately, with all of what's happening globally, we still have a big number of students who are not aware of climate change. So it's very important to put as a part of the curriculum all over the world in order to prepare the students, in order to have, like we have a digital literacy, we should have climate literacy. We need to foster critical thinking. Critical thinking is very important because we need to teach our students to analyze the information, to evaluate the solution, and to engage in responsible decision making. When our students or our future generations are going to think in a critical way, they are going to be able to expect what is going to happen later on. They are going to be more involved. The more we are going to involve our students in such such types of activities related to climate change, the more they are going to be more responsible. They are going to be able to take make a decision, because actually they are going to be the agents of change, because we depend heavily on them. We need to inspire action. Teaching, or if we want to say teaching by modeling, it's not enough for me to give lectures for my students, whether at university or schools. We need to teach them. We need to be model. So we need to inspire action, motivate the student to become active citizen by giving them an example, by be a leader of a change, and also by advocate climate change and climate-friendly policies and practice. The more we are going to lead by example, the more we are going to have responsible generation. Call to action, it can be in different way. We can, for example, we have many things that can be simple, and all educators can apply with their students, and not just at school, because from the school it starts. Later on, they move the students. They can be volunteer to work in their community. In such a way, we are going to start. It's just small community. It's going to be bigger and bigger. What we can do, just here we have small suggestions about what we can do. We need to plant trees. It's very important to arouse our students awareness or about the importance of planting trees, because it's going to help to absorb the CO2, sure, as you know, and help combat the climate change. Planting trees, support reforestation efforts, and to protect all kinds of forests is going to be very important, because usually simple action can make a bigger change. Of all of us, we are going to start to do such simple thing. We are going to make a big difference. We need also to switch to solar, to the wind, to the other any source of energy that can help to reduce reliance on the fossil fuels we have. Number 3, and it's very important, is reduce waste. We need to focus in that. We need to practice waste reduction, recycling, and minimize our environmental footprint, because unfortunately we still have many countries, that they are not still doing recycling. So recycling can start at school, can start at home, in order to move and have a better community. The more we are going to speak about that, the more we are going to ask our students to practice doing that and lead the initiatives themselves, we are going to do a change. And we need to teach them about how to conserve energy. Whether, for example, turn the light, use energy efficiency, or reduce energy consumptions, whether at home and school. Simple action, but can make a big difference in our life. Something very important also I would like to highlight in my short presentation for today is empowering the next generation. The next generation we consider as the solution for our problem. They are the future generation, and they are supposed to be the leader. They are supposed to do a change. What we did now, they are supposed to fix later on. Very important, as I mentioned earlier, is to do a climate education. Very important is to provide comprehensive, and it's not just an hour to be an hour we teach it, or with just a short project. Some of the teachers, they do a short project at school and that's it, or at the university, that's it. No, climate education is supposed to be essential from the beginning of the year till the end of the year. We need to have comprehensive and accessible climate education to young people. It's very crucial for fostering a generations of climate citizens. Climate education should empower the younger generation to understand the science, the impact, and the solution. When they are going to be aware about the problem, when they are going to know the causes, they are going to know the effect, they start to think about the solution. The second one, it's not important, it's not just enough to teach them. Teaching is not enough. We need to support them to be leaders. Supporting youth leader initiative and empowering them to do the solution by themselves. Education and lecture alone is not it can be enough if young children are not going to be able to lead. They are not going. We are supposed to teach them to be creative, to be critical thinker, to be able to communicate with their community and to lead initiative. When they are going to lead the initiative, they are going to be motivated, they are going to be creative, and they are going to think more about the environment. Young generation are often at the front. They are supposed to be at the forefront of the developing new technologies and creative approaches to addressing environmental challenge. Number three, very important to do like what we call it a climate leadership. Monitoring and supporting young people to become a climate leader is very important, and this can happen with the help, sure, with the help of the government. It can be helped also, for example, with the help of NGO, special NGO who pay special attention to climate change. So we are supposed to monitor and support the future generation to become a climate leader for creating a sustainable future, because we are supposed to think about, sure, we think about sustainability. Young leader can inspire others and advocate for change and drive policy decisions that's going to make environmental sustainability a priority. And more things to add. We need to pay attention to the community engagement. It's very important not just to pay attention to the community. It's very important to raise awareness, whether, for example, among parents, whether among all people. Very important to have a connection with the community we are living in, because one hand, if we can, for example, alone we can do something, together we can make a big difference. So engaging young people in the community-based climate action project can foster a sense of ownership and responsibility. The more they are going to connect, the more they are going to be engaged, the more they are going to be with decision maker, with policy maker. They are going to feel responsible. They are going to feel that they can do a listener. They are going to be active participant, not just a passive listener who just hear about the climate change and escape, for example, just having a lecture and escape. The more they are going to be involved, the more they are going to be responsible and creative. Community engagement it's going to help them to provide them with opportunities to learn, to connect with other people, and to make a difference in their local area. Just as a conclusion, I would like to say that addressing climate change sure need not just 10 minutes or 15 minutes. We need hours, we need sessions, we need many conferences, and we need many awareness from the beginning of the year till the end of the year. It's required just many approaches that involve, as I mentioned earlier, the government, the business, the individual, the environmentalists, the local community, we people, and people themselves. However, the role of awareness, especially among the students, is essential. If we empower students to understand and address climate change, we can create actually a more sustainable and resilient future for generation to come. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and sorry if I just speak a lot. I know it's mid of the night.
Thank you, Ms. Maha. That was an amazing presentation, I would say. Really. We really enjoyed through the session, and we really not want to stop you, and more innovative but very practical measures that you have suggested as remedies are like empowering the next generation. That shows that you are a vision. You are definitely on the vision of implementing climatic education, which is quite definitely, though knowledge sharing platforms like this really contribute towards it, but climatic education should be emphasized at the level, and youth-led innovation. That's again one important thing that really made an impression, that impact, such that anything that comes to the youth, because they are the voice of the crowd, they are the future generation, they are our future basically. So in fact, if we have to protect the earth, we have to protect it for them, the younger generation. So on that note, like relating it to climatic leadership, such that the policy makers, the strategies to be implemented with where the young leaders take the lead such that we are only facilitators for the environment. It's a sustainability with the community engagement activities. Excellent, excellent, Maha. Thank you so much. Thanks for all those contributions. Definitely, it was an amazing presentation. Thank you so much. It is wonderful having you here. On that note, I would like to go ahead with my presentation as such, and it's already time. I don't want to go behind the schedule as such. Please allow me to share my screen. So when we talk about the anthropological perspective of climatic change, yeah. So when we talk about the climatic changes, just not physical, but an environmental issue, as we all talked about, as Dr. Virginia was mentioning, as even Dr. Maha was mentioning, it's but a social and a cultural one. So anthropologists study how human societies perceive and adapt to and are impacted by the changing climates, and often linking to the broader themes such as inequality, globalization, historical, environmental relationships. So on that note, the key perspectives to be remembered are as follows. So the human environment interaction is a basic thing. The first thing, that's what we are trying to do. The campaign and the knowledge sharing practices that we are implementing or we are practicing these days are the first thing that to create awareness in people. So anthropologists examine how different societies have interacted with the environments over time, such that we learn from their lessons. So the climate change is understood as a part of long history into the human adaptation that has brought the environmental changes from weather through migration, technological innovations, or the changes in the social organization. So when it is anthropone, a term coined to define the current era in which the humans have a significant impact on Earth's ecosystem, is central to this discussion. However, we cannot rule out the past. The important quote, that is, we cannot live in the past because it's already there. We cannot live in the future because it's to become. The present is very important because that's otherwise called as a gift. So let's learn to live in the present as such to implement the cultural perspective of the climate. That is, different cultural perceive and interpret environmental changes in various ways that often influenced by the religious, spiritual, and cosmological views. For example, indigenous communities may have traditional ecological knowledge that offer the different perspectives on climatic change compared to the Western scientific approaches. Anthropology explores that these diverse interpretations are often contrasting to the global scientific narratives with a local understanding of the climatic phenomena of the local community in which that we are relating to. So to balance this, to build an ecosystem, there should be a social inequality and the climate vulnerability should be dealt with. So the climatic change disproportionately affects the marginalized communities, often in regions that contribute to the least to the greenhouse emissions. Anthropologists study, however, the power dynamics, inequality, and the colonial histories made certain groups more vulnerable to have the impacts of the climatic change. So this includes how poverty, gender, race, and other social factors influence the climatic adaptation and recover from the climatic-related disorders. So the best remedy is globalization and capitalization. So as we were talking about, we are looking for policy makers, we are looking for visionaries, we are looking for strategic people who can start implementing things instead of just sharing knowledges. Let's start implementing things such that anthropologists also analyze how climatic change is linked to the global economic systems. Many view that climatic change as a result of industrialization and capitalist expansion, particularly in the global north, exploits the natural resources or the labor of the global south. So this critic emphasizes that how economic practices contribute to the environmental degradation, how addressing this climatic change requires a challenging, but also it will bring back the global economic order. So how is it going to be possible? Adaptation and resilience. We need to adapt to the present situation, accept the present situation as it is, because we are talking about sustainability. Sustainability is not jeopardizing the whole situation, disturbing the present situation. Just like adapting the present situation and thinking about what can be implemented for the betterment. So in that case, we will have a lot of hurdles to cross. We'll have a lot of tasks to achieve. We'll have a lot of, negative things to manage with. In that case, what is very important, the resilience point of it. So in response to the climatic changes, anthropologists document the strategies that the various communities have adopted to the past and also cope coped up and to adapt to the future. So this includes both the traditional knowledge systems and such as agricultural practices, adapting changing weather patterns, and modern technological infrastructural solutions. Studying these practices helps to understand the resilience and capacity of the different societies to serve in the changing world. So the anthropological contribution to climatic change says that anthropology provide a valuable insight for all the policymakers, environmental activities by emphasizing the social cultural dimensions of the climatic change. It challenges purely technological and scientific solutions by highlighting the need for culturally sensitive approaches that consider the local knowledge, human rights, and social justice. In summary, from the anthropological perspective, climatic change is a deeply intertwined with the human cultures, societies, and the histories of the past with the visions of the future. So it's not the crisis of the environment, but also the social structures, inequalities, and the ways of human life that we talk about. End of the session is that to conclude that fire is the element that is associated with the ability to see both the physical light that illuminate things around us and the spiritual light of consciousness that removes the darkness of ignorance from us, such that we lead kindly light. We lead ourselves to light. We lead ourselves from the darkness to move to the light of knowledge. So fire in our hearts with the wisdom guided through which will provide the energy we need for the right action, the right time, the right move. So fire can be an incredible useful tool. We cook our food with fire, we warm our homes with fire, we light our candles with fire, we roast our marshmallows with fire, we shape our metals with the fire. Why not we create a new energy, new life with our fire? Thanks so much. And with that, I need to end my show. I think it's already time, such that we have come to the end of the session. And I think somebody will take over my session from here.
Ma'am, I'm audible, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
Ma'am, it's really thankful for you and the other two, ma'am, Dr. Virginia Rivera, ma'am, and Dr. Maha Sade, ma'am, and Dr. Srividya Sukumar, ma'am. It's really a wonderful presentation. And I think most of our participants, they would have got a beneficial part how the climate change will be for the future generations, as well as for the global warming, how it can be. And from your perspective, how the anthropological ways, and it's really, really a fantastic show, ma'am. Our heartfelt thanks on behalf of IGEN for this wonderful talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks to IGEN and the wonderful IGEN team who are still awake with all the brightness. Thank you, Madan sir. Thanks for all the support. And though we really, that's how it is actually. When we talk about resilience, there are so many hurdles that comes across our way, and how we manage the situation, how we work as a team to just get the things done. That's what that really matters. So when we're able to do it in this session, why not we do it for our society when we talk about SDG Goal 17? Thank you so much. On that note, signing off, Srividya, and definitely we'll catch you soon in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dear participants, it's really a wonderful section, and we are continuing with our session 2. It's basically the presentation will be on basis of climate change and nanotechnology impacts and innovations. Now, we have our another speaker from Canada, Ms. Mona Russell-Kwan. She's an educator from Durham District School Board, Whitby, Canada. She started her career as a teaching assistant from University of Toronto from September 2004 to August 2007. And she was also an Education Quality and Accountability Office Assessment Specialist from June 2010 to August 2012. She was also the head of department in Blith Academy from August 2012 to October 2013. And right now, she's working as a teacher in STEM of Durham District School Board from October 2013 present. And today, our speaker is none other but one of my classmates, my dear Chrisma. And on behalf of IGEN, I welcome Ms. Mona Russell-Kwan, the educator, to deliver her honorable talk on exploring increasing global temperature and its effect. Ma'am, we welcome you.
I'm very honored to be here. Thank you, Ms. Maheshwari, for such a beautiful introduction. We go way back, and we all call her Maji very sweetly. She was brilliant. She was our class topper. I think she lost 0.5 percentage. I think that's what she was the topper in all of Madras University the year we graduated. So it's an honor to be here speaking at a showcase that she's part of the organizing committee. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Aijin, for this groundbreaking, innovative way of reaching students all over. I think you're doing something really systemic, and that's what I'm going to address today. You're breaking all barriers, and the systemic change is needed at every sector that we are to break the climate change stigma. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Can you please share the slides, ma'am? Our team, can you please give access to ma'am? Yeah.
Can you guys see the first slide?
Yeah, you can make it in slideshow, ma'am.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, yes. Perfect. Yes.
All right. So thank you very much. My topic today with my experiences with my students and as an educator and with my diverse experience both in India and in Canada, I'm going to touch base on whatever research I could chance upon to present what I see and what my students see in terms of climate change is. So my topic is under the element of fire because global warming is related to how different our world is today. And my topic is going to be, I can give you my exact topic, exploring increasing global temperature and its effects on Earth's natural and human systems. So when I read up on the IIPC's recent Climate Synergy Symposium document from COP26, the main concern was that even with a slight degree increase from 0.5 degrees Celsius to 1 degree Celsius, the Earth could significantly be changed, right? No one really understands that. So this image is a beautiful image that credit goes to the Korea Meteorological Association for sharing this. Is a foggy morning, and you can see that how beautiful it is. But this could be a reality if we have increased forest fires, and we're in the thick of it. Last year in Canada, or even right now this summer, we're battling an increased number of forest fires. And this is because of global warming and how our climates all over, they're not able to adapt or stay tuned to what's happening with the weather and what's happening with all the nanoparticles that are surrounding us. Yes, we did have a threat in terms of the ozone layer depleting and how intense things are getting worse. But in this day and age, with increased hurricanes and natural disasters all over, it's a huge, huge indicator that our weather patterns are changing drastically. And if we don't do anything right now, it could severely damage our system. So I'm going to dwell into the two systems that I have listed here, which are the natural systems in terms of how our ecosystem and all the flora and fauna are affected, and are also into the human systems in terms of how we are impacted by what's happening around us. So Earth's natural systems, as if I can summarize it, I know 15 minutes is a really, really short time, as our previous speaker mentioned, but if I can summarize it, this is happening all over the world, not just in Canada. We've seen that glaciers are melting tremendously. Even if we took pictures from 10 years apart, we could see that there are some glaciers that are almost non-existent from how we had them 20 years ago in the tundra region everywhere. There is a increased drought all over in the desert areas and the biomes that should not be having drought in this day and age. We also see that, so this is really popular because of Finding Nemo movie. Even the kids know it, that we are losing the coral reefs. And it's been in the news for a long time, but no one's doing anything about it. And if we assess coral reefs, not just in Australasia, but also the Indonesian peninsula, also Florida, all over the world, when we look at the coral reefs over a time period of 15 years, there's bleaching happening. We're losing the coral reefs because there's increased carbonic acid in our ocean systems. There shouldn't be. And I'll get there in a second. And if we look at our own Indian peninsula, we're not even spared of anything. The Himalayan region and the Gangetic Plain, which is a fertile zone, is now in drought or gets excessive rainfall. There is no steady weather patterns for the farmers to have thriving agriculture. So there's drastic change in vegetation going on all over, and this threatens the biodiversity that we have all over the world. And biodiversity is critical for every ecosystem to be balanced and to be thriving. So with that said, I would like to put some images into your systems. So the image on the left is a thriving coral reef from 2014, and the image on the right is a bleached coral reef from 2022. This was published in the IPCC, which is the International Panel for Climate Change. They've been advocates for climate change all over the world with United Nations and WHO and World Economic Forum, and we can see that. So that the picture on the left is taken from Indonesia. So thank you to the photographer for that, and you can see that they are thriving. There's colors, there's beautiful biodiversity. You can see multiple fish over there, and the light gets there, and it's a thriving ecosystem. Multiple living organisms actually live in that system. But on the right, you can see it's bleak, it's dull, and there's nothing there. It's because when there is carbonic acid in our ocean systems, these fishes, their pH balance is lost. They can't be in a very balanced ecosystem where they are thriving and they can reproduce and they can be happily populating for generations to come. So even with the slight, and this is all because there was a 0.5 increase in temperature. And with that increase in temperature, the amount of carbon that's released into the earth was shot up. And with all the carbon dioxide that is in our atmosphere, the excess carbon dioxide doesn't know where to go. So it combines with the one odd oxygen that we have and makes carbonic acid and settles in our oceans, causing havoc for our ocean reef. So the IPCC also released this alarming statement in their recent document, where they said that by 2030, which is not far from where we are right now, we could lose the entire coral reef, because coral reefs take a good amount of time to regenerate, even if they lose, even if they die because of any bleaching or anything, but they take years to regenerate. But at this rate, there is no breathing space. There is no time for them to regenerate. And so we might entirely lose them by 2030. And that's alarming, because that's a big bunch of ecosystems that are working together in that, and that'll impact us eventually. I'll get there, how all of us are interconnected. So from some of the living organisms, now we're going to look at another natural system, which is our groundwater level. So this image is from NASA, and it's a collaboration with Germany, GRACE system, where they monitored, if you look at the years, they monitored water changes and human activity from the year 2002 to 2016. So over the period of time, you can see how the blue areas are getting more bluer, pardon my language, but just to make sense, and the brown areas are getting browner, which means the dry area lands are getting drier and the wetlands are getting wetter, which is not a good thing for our world and for vegetation or for agriculturists to actually grow anything. So if you focus on one zone, you can say, if you focus on the Indian Peninsula, you can see how the the red brown creeps in where the blue is. Where the blue is where the Himalayan plateau is, where there is thriving agriculture. But you can see how it's increased drought and increased browning all over. So this also is happening because of erratic changes in weather patterns, and also because of human interference in what we're doing. We have been burning fossil fuels for everything, for our industries, for making making our own life better, to get to one place to another place faster. We are burning fossil fuels to make our lives better, but we're forgetting that if we want a life to be thriving and lasting long, then we need our earth. And at this rate, with this imagery clearly telling us, is stark in our face, that we are going to lose our lands where we grow our food. So I'm going to focus more on the Indian Peninsula on the next slide. So this is my contrast between fire and ice, since we're on the topic of fire. So if you look at the Indian Peninsula, you can see that the Indian Institute of Technology and the University of Augsburg from Germany, they did a study and they released this in 2019, that the Indian subcontinent is likely to experience an increasing number of extreme weather events in the future. The fertile and densely populated plain around the Indus and Ganges rivers is therefore likely to become a climate change hotspot, which could have severe consequences for several 100 million people. And we know that. We know a lot of us live in India, and that with food shortage and with limited supplements to nourish, you can see where this is heading. It also will bring a decline in everybody's overall health and well-being, which could affect in the way people are functioning. And with lack of food supply, with lack of quality food supply, it's not looking good for how our future is. So on the right, you can see an image that credit goes to National Geographic from 2022, that over the past several decades, we've seen glaciers melting. And this one, you can see that the water is pouring out as a waterfall as the glaciers are melting. This is impacting all of us because our sea levels are rising, which means a lot of coastal regions, which are plateaus for agricultural haven, is not anymore, because as the sea levels rise, our some of our islands are even submerged. And also we are seeing that a lot of the biome and biodiversity we have in the Thunder region, with the polar bears and the seals, they are not able to be sustained because we are losing their ecosystems. So it's alarming in the fire and ice section. So this is a summary, a nice image. I credit for IPCC, that the impacts from human caused change, how it will intensify. It's going to intensify in every sector. There's going to be water scarcity because droughts are increasing, and food production. There's going to be less fish. Because of that, a lot of animals consume the fish. A lot of greenery is not going to be existent because there's lack of rain and increase in drought. Health and well-being. There's going to be increased number of diseases because people are not eating healthy anymore. There's going to be fatigue and low self-motivation if we don't have enough energy. We're not going to be all physically active, or we're not going to be mentally healthy if we're not, in fact, fed well. We look at cities, settlements, and infrastructures. All of those are going to be impacted because we need human beings to actually sustain these systems to have a better life. But all of those are going to be impacted if we are not functioning at our best with low food supply. Our ecosystems, our structures, species, range shifts, and changes in timing. So all of this is accelerated because of that 1 degree increase in temperature, which has happened in the past few decades. So all of these evidences tell us that we need to slow global warming, because if we look at the transition between last ice age to where we are right now, it wasn't too long, right? We look at the evidence collected from what we have. It was only a mere 40 years when that change happened, right? It was pretty drastic. And I think in terms of what we have, the evidence we have with the drastic weather patterns, we might be in the thick of it, and we need to be quite concerned, as the IPCC report points out, right? So I'm going to read it verbatim. The global response to warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius compromises transitions in land and ecosystem, energy, urban infrastructure, industrial system. They need to accelerate. So, but they also give a hope. There is a hope. The hope is there is a possibility of mitigation and adaptation options and the enabling conditions for strengthening and implementing the systemic changes. So there is hope, and that's what I'm going to speak about now that I've talked about the effects and impacts. So the systemic change needs to come from us. Such a change in every sector of where we are. We know that our biologists, our ecologists, our marine biologists have given us the data that there is change happening. There is evidence that we are losing ecosystems, we are losing species, things are being accelerated, weather patterns are drastic. So if we have reason, so when we heed to them, when we give them that honor and accept that, then in each of our own sectors, me as an educator, I advocate to all my students, right? And even as a little as making a small change could lead to lasting impacts. I'll talk about that in a second. But that's where it starts. A systemic change means that there's a complete turnaround in where we are and how we are in every sector of our systems, right? Which is education, which is industries, policy making, politics, universities, research, every single sector of our human life. So how do we do that? We build capacity with sustainable development. So when you build capacity, that means you're teaching someone about something that you know that they don't know, right? So, and teaching just doesn't mean just reciting what you know, or just speaking. It could be in your actions. It could be in like how you are in every day, right? Have sustainable choices, like don't buy too many clothes, reduce, recycle, speak about global warming and climate change, educate people wherever you are, right? It starts like that, because there's so many of us that are ignorant about what's happening, and they haven't read all the climate change reports like us. So we have to be the change agents to build capacity, and we need to also make sure that it's sustainable and it's developing. And how do we do that, right? We keep talking about it and we monitor the mechanisms, right? Which means that this person who you spoke to 2 weeks ago, have they taken into consideration what you just shared? Have they made that change? Have they used that for their own change? And is climate change a thing of their lifestyle now? So that's how you monitor change, right? Keep them accountable and keep talking to them. A major change that a spark or a ray of hope that if I can call is it lies in nanotechnology, right? Because we need to slow it down as human beings. We know that nanotechnology is huge in the sense of giving us hope that we could in fact do something about this carbonic acid that is in excess in our ocean systems. How? If I can take a minute to explain that. I think everybody in this session knows what nanotechnology is, but really quickly, it's where you have technology that's so tiny that you can't even see 10,000 times smaller than the size of your hair. So 10 to the power of 9, that is what -9 is what nano is. So if you're building nano materials, you have to look through a microscope to actually build them. How cool is that, right? So if you can't even see it with your normal eyes, then these technologies can be just integrated into our atmosphere, can be integrated and dispersed into our oceans to do the tidying up, right? We're places where we ourselves cannot go or see. So if that little paragraph I have in there talks about greenhouse gases, I think, which we all know, these are gases that are in our system unwantedly because we didn't, we have industries, we created them, we have refrigerators, we have aerosols, we have all of these releasing carbons and chlorofluorocarbons, carbon dioxide, a lot of carbon around, so leaving a lot of carbon footprint. All of these are all over the world. So these excess amount of carbon then mixes with the oxygen, makes carbonic acid, and makes the ocean life not too good. And because of that, then there's the water cycle, right? When the ocean system becomes more acidic, then it affects the way the water we receive as precipitation. And that increases the global temperature. And that increases the fire component of this presentation, right? So that's where the greenhouse gases come. So scientists are actually making or theorizing. I don't think there's a prototype yet, but this is theory. I got the information from Science Direct that nanomaterials are being built. So each nanomaterial has a larger surface area per unit volume, which means, like, in a 1 cubic meter, you can fit in a lot of nanoparticles. Like if each sphere has more surface area, rather than having one sphere, you have a billion spheres in 1 cubic meter, right? So if that's the case, then they can interact with a lot more atoms within that square cubic centimeter, right? And that's our hope. So they can absorb these greenhouse gases that are around us, that are causing havoc and accelerating climate change. So if we can release these nanomaterials into our atmosphere and into our ocean systems, then there's hope. They can do the cleanup. They could combine and bond with these carbon atoms and make them into something else useful for Earth and ecosystem. So that's the hope with nanotechnology, right? So in agriculture, nanotechnology has offered modern farming tools, including nanofertilizers, nanopesticides, right? With biodegradable materials, with biomaterials, rendering better productivity and restoring ecosystem balance. Nanosensors are also an emerging technology where we have, food packaging for detection of pathogens and contaminants. Really, really important to detect heavy metals, because heavy metals cause tumors and unwanted damage to our lungs and all the toxins that we don't need. So again, we have nanosensors for that. The food sector is also going to benefit from the application of bio-based nano packaging because it's environmentally friendly and there's no leftover remnants in the system to affect us. So this is a hope for the future. These are the different nanomaterials that are right now researched and that are in top science labs all over the world. They're making it or theorizing it or they're working on it. There's amazing nanotechnology going on all over the world. But as I dwell on this slide, let me also bring up a key point. There is still tight regulations on safe handling of nanomaterials. Just like how when you handle a chemical in your lab, you have your MSDS, right? You have to read the safety sheet. If you touch sulfur too much, you're going to get lung cancer, or you're going to, right? So all of these, even though they help us in what we have to do, we also have to be mindful about using the right materials, which are bio-based nanomaterials, so we have a sustainable Earth, and we're not releasing these nanoparticles that are toxic, and then it'll be harder to find them, right? So there is still regulations that are still policies that are being made with nanoparticles. So if any policymaker. So this is why we need a systemic change, right? We need everybody, governments, school systems, universities, research labs, everybody working together to fight and combat climate change. So as a engineering student or a future engineer, what can we do, right? There's plenty that we can do by being an advocate wherever you are, in your families, with your children, with your cousins, with your friends, with your teachers, everywhere. You can start small, right? plant trees because trees absorb the carbon and they make starch, right? So plant up more trees, lots of trees. Clean up after yourselves. Like all of these sit on our landfills for a long time. Our earth cannot break down these particles, plastic and things like that. So clean up and reduce, limit the use of plastic, right? And have sustainable transportation. Electrify if you can, if you can ride a bike everywhere you can, or choose less fossil fuel powered ICE cars and more electrified cars and vehicles, and choose to reuse, right? Clothes, technologies, electronics. We don't need more of those, right? We want to make more bio-sensitive, bio nanoparticles, and we don't need like 10 TVs within our family. So try to reuse materials within your families and systems. So I hope if you took anything away from this, I hope that you'll all be advocates for climate change within your circles. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity, Ajahn.
Thank you. Thank you, Mona Russell, Gwan, ma'am. Really, it's wonderful, very interactive. And you have given a detailed explanation of what is energy conservation. And you have touched the nanotechnology field also. I think your students are really wonderful, na? That's what you are giving out so much flow of ideas. Even in your
I'm a very strong advocate for my students too. They get to hear this a lot.
Yeah, I hope the students will be benefited more from your concern. And it's really on behalf of IGEN, we thank you, dear ma'am. And from wholeheartedly, I'm also thanking you for accepting our invitation. And we know it's a midnight day. Even in your busy schedule, you have given a space for us to give all the things. It's really, thank you, my dear ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're most welcome.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can you please unshare your screen, ma'am? Yeah. Yes, take care. Bye-bye, Mona Russell. Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. Good luck.
Yeah. Now it's time for our next speaker, Dr. R. Sankar Ganesh sir. Sir has received his PhD degree in optoelectronics and nanostructure science from Tsushuka University, Japan. In 2018, his research focuses on thin film deposition, fabrication, and characterization of electronics such as solar cells, gas sensors, and nanogenerators with applications in e-skin and wearable devices. Dr. Ganesh has worked extensively in these areas, contributing to advancements in materials, science, and technology. He began his career as a postdoctoral researcher at SKKU in South Korea, working in the Department of Advanced Material Science and Technology, where he continued to explore cutting-edge technologies in material sciences. Later, he, at the Department of Materials, Japan, Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, he conducted research on innovative materials and their gas sensing applications. Currently, Sir serves as a project researcher at the Department of Bioengineering, the University of Tokyo, Japan, under the guidance of Professor H. Tabata. His current research focuses on integrating advanced materials and bioengineering principles to develop biomedical devices and sensors. Throughout his career, Dr. Ganesha has authored 58 papers in reputed international journals, reflecting his scholarly contribution to the field. And he is also holding a H index of 24, which is really a good impact and influence in his research. And sir, we really welcome you on behalf of IGEN to deliver your valuable speech on triboelectric nanogenerator for biomedical applications. Yes, sir. Sir, can you please unmute yourself?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much for a great introduction. And good morning, everyone. And it's time. Actually, it's my office time only. Even though it's office time, it's Sunday. Almost I came here for Sunday today only. After almost 8 years, I worked here. But this is the first time I attend the office at Sunday. So it's nice to meet you all in this occasion. Actually, it's a good time to wake up for conducting this kind of environmental oriented presentations and seminars as well as workshops, because it's a time for us to wake up whether we want to live or we want to die in this world before knowing the next generation what they're going to do. So I will be discussing how we have to move to the next renewable energy here. So what I do is just focus on the background of this one, and I will discuss what I am doing now and what is the next futures, what we can do. So I will have a question actually. After listening so many speakers, really we are living in the world or we are destroying this world is a big question for us. It is a question mark. You have to think yourself whether we are living our life or we are making ourselves in a dying position. So every day what happens is we are just not having any responsibility and we are just living like robots, not even like humans, I think. So just what we do is just keep going and we just come on, eat and go. So we have to think what is around, what is the environment we are living. So we have to think. So recently we have a research how humans lifespan is reduced and what happens to them, why they are living and they are having so much of disease in this world. So what happens is we are not taking, the last speaker said the food we are taking is not good. Yeah, that is right. We are not having a right food, right environment, right working place also. So this happens us to think whether we are dying or living. So here I am on to say that most probably the developing countries, when we are going to develop, even a last interview from one person, he said only where there is a development there is a destroy also. When you want to develop, there is a destroying of life as well as environment and UN. And he says about India that in our side the diabetes is reduced, is not that much high, but in south side it's almost increased. What is the reason, we were asking? He said because we are developed. When we are developing, you are become lazy and you don't care about the environment, you don't care about the proper food, and you don't care about anything, just you live for your facilities and you want a comfort life here. So what this makes you more lazy and lazy, as well as you make your environment, your health and your surroundings also very poor. So you need something to change here. So last few decades, you know that fossil fuels, right? Fossil fuels, the one of the energy we are using for everything, for electricity as well as for anything, we are using fossil fuels. So you can see that most countries, we are at the fourth. You can see in the slides that we are in the fourth in the country which uses more fossil fuels than the renewable sources. Now we are developing to make more solar cells and everything, but still we are working. Even I mean, Tamil Nadu people are using more coals to get more energy. So we have to stop it. We have to make a full stop for fossil fuels, and we have to make our own energy by going for renewable like solar energy or anything else. So that's what we want to insist here. And what is happening, why we want to stop coal? Because when you stop coal, there will not be a global warming. So because as you know, recently I studied that from 1987 to 2023, 0.6% centimeter is sea level is increased near Chennai. I'm not saying about any other place. it's Chennai. Because of global warming, the sea level is keep on increasing here. What is happening here? Whether it is because of other countries, because of ours, and what it is happening here, it's all every country, every human, every single person has to take responsibility here. We don't have any responsibility here, so we have to take more responsibility to make our surroundings more greener and more feasible to live there. Because not only you are going to live here, the next generation has to live, the next generation has to live the same life what your father, your grandfather lived. But what we are giving, we are giving an environment which cannot be lived. There is no pure water, there is no pure air, nothing is pure here. We contaminating each and everything, because each human does not have responsibility of taking care of earth. Earth is dying. Nowadays what we are doing is we are planting in Mars, right? So NASA is working on planting Mars, and they want another world to be explored. But what we are doing is not planting a single plant in earth. It's a joke actually. Why they are not considering the earth as a living planet? Already they are living, and they're not considering anything. They have to consider here where we are living in this world. First we have to take care of this one, next they can explore other world. But always they are thinking we have to get new things, we have to explore in science and many things. So this is what happens. We don't care about what we are, we just care about others. So what that is what we can do in other places. So just plant every day. That last speaker said you have to plant at least a single tree near your house. That will help greenery, right? So when you plant more plants, it will help you to develop a green environment. Each and everyone should think about this one. So reduce fossil fuels to live in a good environment. Okay, that's what we want to say here. And then renewable sources. So when we think about renewable sources, everyone think there are only solar cell or some windmill or turbine and these kind of things. But there are some energy sources which can help us to go for further. Even a single person can generate energy by himself, not even go for some technology. Just he can make devices in his home, and he can generate energy for his own purposes. Like he want to cook something, he can use that energy, and he want to use for his household things, he can use everything. And even nowadays we are planning to implement these kind of devices in every platforms, like car and even the roads. When we keeping in the roads, it automatically charges. Recently in German and other countries, they're planning to have this kind of devices which can generate